Hi, That's So Hindu listeners. With Navratri underway, for this week's episode, we're republishing one from the archives on how Hindu Americans celebrate. Hope you enjoy it. Welcome to That's So Hindu, the podcast brought to you by the Hindu American Foundation. I'm Matt McDermott. For this episode, we have something a bit different for you. It's a special episode for Navratri. What we've done is tasked our staff writer, Syama Allard, to interview several members of our extended HAF team, as well as members of the Hindu American community, about how they celebrate Navratri today, what they remember about the holiday growing up, and how their understanding of it has changed over the years. What you'll hear are excerpts from longer interviews Syam did with each person. Links to the full written versions on the HAF website, as well as to those interviews that didn't make it into the show, will be in the show notes. To start, here's Kavita Palod.
Yeah, so some of my earliest memories are just doing puja at home on Dussehra, more than Navratri for us as Marwadis. And, just a really festive atmosphere. Of course, Dussehra felt like, okay, Diwali is coming really soon. But in our family, actually, it's a day to wash the vehicles and do a little vahan puja, or like a puja for your car, which I think is probably one of the more unique elements. And of course, as I got older, started celebrating Navratri more as I made more Gujarati friends, and going to Garba and everything felt really special because it meant getting out of the house and being able to celebrate also with other people beyond our immediate family. And I think that was always really special. And so when I think of, what resonated most about Navratri and Dussehra, it's this idea of, of course, really honoring the feminine spirit in our lives, but also just the community that comes from being able to celebrate these festivals together. We do a Vahan Puja on Dussehra, and again, that's, puja for your car. And my mom was telling me that, it relates to on Dussehra, these three things happened. Durga defeated Mahishasur, and Ram defeated Ravan, and the Pandavas picked up their weapons on Dussehra to signify the end of their exile, and also in a lot of ways the beginning of the Mahabharata war. And so something about the picking up the weapons and preparing for that part relates to being able to take a time to really appreciate your vahan, your vehicle, which I think is when you really think about it, can be profound in thinking that, we're taking care of our vehicle, which does so much for us on a daily basis. When we go into other parts of the festival, like we take time to honor like the vessels that we cook food in, because that is so much of our life too. So again, it's wearing new clothes, cleaning the house, making delicious food, having a time to dedicate to really seeing and celebrating with family this idea of bringing more and more light into our lives, especially as it gets darker and darker outside. Getting married and having kids of my own, how celebrating has changed. There's unfortunately a little less of the sense of fanfare because, I'm not cooking away for weeks the way that my mom was, and a lot of things that kind of made it feel really different growing up. But we're still trying to really hold on to that feeling for our kids by spending more time just talking about what it signifies, and spending more time reading the books and doing the celebrations in that way. And so more and more, in 2020, like Navratri is when we went to vote, and it just felt really powerful in some ways to really honor the feminine divine while voting for Kamala Harris, who ended up being our first female VP, right? Not exactly a traditional way, certainly, to celebrate, but a really meaningful one for me nonetheless. And as, now I have a daughter as well as a son, where, just thinking more and more every day about what it means to really embody respect for the more feminine parts of our personalities, for the more feminine energy that we need to live our life, really thinking about how to embody courage and also embody grace. embody beauty while also embodying power.
Next, we have HAF Managing Director and frequent That's So Hindu host, Samir Kalra.
So growing up, I don't have as many memories of celebrating Navratri. It wasn't as big in my family, but I do have some wonderful memories of Dussehra in particular. We had a local Hindu mandir close to us where we would always go for Dussehra and Diwali celebrations. And I remember fondly going and seeing the Ravan Dahan, or the burning of the effigy of Ravan, which symbolizes, of course, the victory of good over evil. And when Sri Ram, killed Ravan, and before he returned back to Ayodhya. And so that in particular really resonated with me, the whole story behind that. The story of Sri Ram throughout, the Ramayana, but in particular at that moment when he killed Ravan, and just seeing that, that playing out at the temple, I think was something that I still remember to this day, and has really shaped how I view conflict, how I view this idea of, conquering evil, and what it takes to achieve that. And so that was really one of the big memories that I have. And Dussehra was always celebrated, quite in a big manner in my family. My mother is Bahari, so she's from the hills originally, and Dussehra is huge in that area. And so we always had a big celebration around Dussehra, and it was culminated with going to the temple and participating in that and seeing that Ravan Dahan. So that always sticks out in my memory as a child growing up. Now my wife is Gujarati, so I enjoy a lot of celebrations around Navratri that are huge in Gujarat in particular. And we really enjoy going to Garbas and Dandiya events. Especially seeing my two young daughters participate in that has been really fun for me. Seeing them participate not just in the Dandiya or Garba itself, but participating in the Aarti that happens there, and also just the devotional aspect of it. Obviously, we're living in America in the modern day, but just seeing these traditions continue and being able to pass them down to my kids, and seeing, especially Navratri representing the feminine divine, and then having my girls really enjoying the holiday and celebrating it with great excitement and fervor, I think is really meaningful for me. And so how I've now, I think, participate today is really through my family and through my children. And that to me is the most significant part of celebrating Navratri. And also Dussehra. We're going to be going to a Dussehra festival coming up in a couple of weeks. So having my kids witness that Ravan Dahan, just like I did as a kid, I think is really meaningful, and looking forward to that. Having girls as daughters, I think I really appreciate the idea of feminine divine more, and Shakti. And maybe I didn't think about it as much before growing up. But now I think that is really important. And so as my, my personal practice and our family practice in terms of our traditions grows, I think that has become a big part of it, is instilling in them the concept of Shakti, feminine divine, and as girls, making sure that they understand that Hinduism is so unique in this way, in that it celebrates feminine energy and the goddess, and it's really unlike any other tradition. So teaching them that appreciation for that, I think has been really important for me, and part of my own evolution and my own personal spiritual practice as well.
Here's Shivani Raina, a member of the Kashmiri Pundit community, talking about how they celebrated Navratri in Kashmir in the 1980s and how she celebrates it now in the U.S.
My early days were actually growing up in Kashmir, in Srinagar, which is the capital city of Kashmir. And this part of the time, this part of the year was fall. We used to call it autumn, and it was a festival season. And like, I don't have a strong memory of Navratras, because the Navratra that actually used to have a higher significance was is the time in April. So we have Navratras around 2 times. One in April, right around the spring season, and then during fall, right before the Shera. So these 9 days, I don't have a strong kind of, I don't think there was too much of ritualism associated, other than the fact that we didn't eat non-veg for the last couple of days of these 9 days. But I definitely remember the Shera, which in Srinagar, in one of the exhibition halls, my school bus would actually cross that exhibition hall. That's what it was called as. It was a big ground kind of a thing. And our school bus crossed that hall every day. And we could actually see the whole build up of the Ravana and his other brothers, three kind of like build up of these three people in this hall for a month, almost for a month. And then the Shera was a holiday, and I think we've gone to actually seeing the burning up of Ravana maybe once or twice when we were kids, but I don't remember going and watching the whole ritual and the ceremony of burning Ravana every time. But I remember just going maybe a couple of times. But what I do remember is this whole buildup of them being structured, like these structures coming up, and then coming back after the holiday, like the Shera was a holiday, coming back after the holiday, and then seeing them all burnt, and then all the ashes and the residue scattered on the ground. And that's the memory, that's the strongest memory I have of the Shera kind of growing up. In terms of like Navratri days, this particular time period of Navratri is significantly more celebrated in like Gujarat and Maharashtra. But in Kashmir, we treated these 9 days as kind of religious days, for lack of a better word. And as I said, like the first few days, nothing really changed. But the last couple of days, we wouldn't eat non-veg. That was like, that was the ritualism aspect of it. We didn't eat non-veg. And then the ninth day of the Navratra, what we did was we would make yellow rice, which is considered to be auspicious in the Kashmiri Pandit household. And we would make a particular dish, non-veg dish, which is lamb or a goat liver, organ meat. And it would be eaten with the yellow rice, and I think we also offered it to God or goddess, because Navratri is celebrated. It's more of a goddess celebration. We would also offer it to her, and then maybe even one or two temples, if I'm not mistaken. It's all faint memories. But we would eat it. It was as if it was like a prasad or a special kind of thing. You made it to offer to God, and you also ate it. I think today is very different. I grew up in like 80s in Kashmir, and maybe like very, very early, 1 or 2 years in 90s. This was before internet. It was, I would say, the cross-pollination of culture wasn't there. So whatever we did was with the purest form of how we have been celebrating these festivals. In general, I would say that the Navratris around October, November time, these Navratris, which lead up to the Shera period, wasn't as significantly celebrated in Kashmir, among Kashmiri Pandits, as I would say Shivratri is, or Diwali is. Shivratri is really the most significant festival. And then the kind of the Navratri period around the springtime are also more important because they're kind of at the beginning of the new year in the Kashmiri calendar and everything. So there was nothing that was happening in our household which was as if it's a period of celebration for 9 days. It was generally about us not eating meat for the last couple of days, which as kids we didn't like. My mom fasting for a couple of days. In Kashmir, we ate meat for first 4 days. In rest of the India, you don't eat meat at all for all 9 days. But in Kashmir, we ate the meat for first 4 days. And then the Ashtami is when my mom fasted. So we got to eat like a special dessert. And then the Shira was the 10th day. That's where, while we didn't do anything special at home, we all, a couple of times, had gone to see the Ravana being burnt, his effigy being burnt. And that was a celebration, good over evil. But I remember very clearly the whole build up of those structures and then going back after the holiday and those structures kind of being the ruins now and the ashes and all the dirt being scattered all over the ground. So that's how I remember. But now Navratra is so integral to some other parts of India, especially Gujarat, Maharashtra. And I grew up in these, like we left Kashmir and I studied in these parts and I lived in these parts. So I clearly know how Navratras are celebrated in Gujarat because I did my schooling, my undergrad there. And then I know how it's celebrated in Maharashtra. And now in America, we are very cross-pollination of all communities. So this is a full-on Garba season. I'm actually going to be going to Garba next weekend, which is Garbas are celebrated in Gujarat and Maharashtra during Navratris. So for me, it has changed quite a bit because now as soon as Navratras start, I know the big season of festivals for Hindu community and in Indians who practice Hinduism has started. So it's like beginning of fall is also beginning of many festivals in the Hindu calendar. And though I'm a Kashmiri Pandit, I pretty much we celebrate everything. So whether that's from Garba, which isn't a part of the Kashmiri Pandit ritualism, but it is the part of like Gujarati and Maharashtra areas. And now we celebrate it because our friends and I've experienced it myself. So it's kind of changed quite a bit.
Now, Bhuvan Pyakurel, who we interviewed at length a couple of years ago on the show, is a refugee from Bhutan, now involved in local politics here in the U.S. He tells us about how the Bhutanese community celebrates the holiday.
So for me, I'm originally from Bhutan. I was born in Bhutan, grew up in Bhutan. So my earliest memory of this holiday or this festival goes back to Bhutan. In Bhutan, this Diwali or Dasara used to be known as Dasai Tihar. So my memory goes back to the day when we used to keep all the cattle and animals, cows and all in a cow shed. And on the day of Dasara or Dasai, everybody was off, go to the different relatives' house and enjoy the day. So between that comes the Navratri. And during the Navratri time, there used to be we call it Chandi. People used to read Chandi. Durga Puja used to be happening. And also Ramayana recitation used to happen in our village. So that it brings back me to those days. So our celebration of this festival we call Dasai Tihar is unique in two different forms. In the US, as you know, our days are pretty much everything is scheduled. Right now I'm in the car sitting and doing interview with you. So it's a little different, but Dasai is the biggest thing, even bigger than the Tihar or Diwali. During Dasai time, what we do is all the people from all the relatives, not everybody, relatives goes to the elder's house. And then the job of the elder on that particular day is on the 10th day of Navratri, that is called Dasai, is he or she, they will mix their uncooked rice with a red collar, and they will have a javara. Jamara means that they will be putting some seedlings on the first day of Navratri. There's corn or jow, and on the 9th day they'll cut them. And on the 10th day, when we put the tikka, that is called uncooked rice, mixed with the color and yogurt or curd, mix it, make it a little bit mushy. Then they'll put on the forehead. And the javara is given to put in their ear. So we'll put the tikka on our forehead and the javara on our ear, and people will go. And there is also a special blessings given by the elders to the younger generations. It recites like this. Ayudrona sute sriyam dasarate satrukchayo ragave aishoryam nahuse gatischa pavane manancha duryodhane saurim santanuje balam haladhare satyancha kunti sute sugyane vidure pravoti bhavatan kritischa narayane. It tells that let your age be like a Drona's son, Aswathama. He was Chiranjeevi. Dasarath Maharaj, like King Dasarath, let the Shreya, the pride be like him. And in that sense, the younger generation get blessed by the seniors or elders in the family, and the day starts with those blessings. So the blessing thing which I just recite, that is the biggest part of the day, and biggest part of the year. That blessings we believe, or not believe, we feel. Not believing is different, but feeling is different. That feeling of the blessing being experienced by all the younger generation brings people together. Even today, like when we in this busy schedule, busy world, we travel across during that Dasara or Dasami, on the day of Dasai, and going and talking to people, getting blessings, eating different kind of food, cuisine, all made by mothers or sisters. Usually they do the cooking part, and brothers and other families that sit, help each other. And those things are resonant very much, because that is the binding force of bringing family together, talking together, and all challenges and the successes of all throughout the year we discussed during those few days time. So that things is the biggest part of me in these holidays.
Then we spoke with Anuttama Das from ISKCON.
Well, thank you for having me, Hare Krishna. My name is Anuttama Das, and I'm the Communications Director for ISKCON, the Hare Krishna community. I'm based in Washington, D.C., although I joined ISKCON around 1975, summer of 1975. And so my first memories of this holiday were at the Denver ISKCON temple. I was living as a brahmachari at that time in the ashram, and festivals were a big deal. And this festival was also a big deal. We didn't have Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman deities at that time, but especially Dussehra was a big festival for us. We were Vaishnavas, so we focused on the worship of Krishna and Ram and other avatars of Lord Vishnu and of Lord Krishna. So I just remember that this was a very big holiday. We would dress the deities very beautifully. We'd have a wonderful feast. There's celebrations, special kirtans. A lot of members of the congregation would come. And some years we'd have special drama. So it was one of the many holidays that we celebrated. But things got more excited later on when I moved to Washington, D.C., which we can talk about later, where we have Sitaram, Lakshman, and Hanuman deities. So because we have Sitaram deities, this holiday, especially Dussehra, is a very, very big event for us. And we actually put a large Ravan outside of the temple. I think he's about 30 feet high with multiple heads. And we generally do a drama. In addition to the traditional kind of ISKCON kirtans and lecture and special prasadam and all that. And of course, the deities get a beautiful, beautiful new outfit. But for me, it's very much focused on the ISKCON celebration. And we have a wonderful drama with all of the, the kids get involved, and some of them are monkeys and some of them are demons fighting for Ravan. And many times the play itself kind of stumbles out, pre-planned, of course, stumbles out of the temple room where the performance is. And there's this big Ravana, and they shoot their arrows of fire into Ravan, and Ravan burns up. And it's just a very fun ceremony, celebration. And of course, there's a deep theological understanding behind it too, but it's something that's very visual, very captivating. And I think it's one of the more favorite holidays of people in the community. And also, I mean, it takes them a week or two to build the Ravan, which is, he's a pretty big guy. And every year we have a fire station right down the street from us. We go to the fire station and we tell them, hey, we're going to be having a big bonfire over here, so that they don't get surprised by all the smoke that's coming up. But it's a lot of it. We rope off the whole area, and it's an exciting festival.
And finally, HAF's own Ramya Ramakrishnan.
I spent the first 22 years of my life in India. So my earliest memories of Navratri were, of course, in India. My family had this tradition of keeping Golu for Navratri. So South Indians celebrate it differently. And I have to add that it's not done in every South Indian home. For instance, it's not done in my husband's side of the family, but, many families do keep. So my earliest memories were, really fun memories of going to the Golu event at my friend's house and kind of comparing the different arrangements in different homes, and then lots of singing, because we celebrate a Navratri every day by praying and preparing Naivedyam for the goddesses. And then it's always followed by chanting, lots of prayers, lots of classical music, songs, bhajans, and all of that. So I have really fond memories and lots of, really good memories of going to friends' homes and also receiving people at home so that they can come and see the Golu at our house. I think the way it's celebrated today is maybe a little different from how it has been celebrated in the past, in the sense, Navratri is about honoring women. We worship all the women goddesses. So in India, typically, women invite other women to their homes for, offering haldi, kumkum, and, other offerings, fruits, little gifts, and some food and all of that. But here in the US, what I've observed is people invite the whole family. So husbands, grandparents, visiting families, children. So it's become a great social, cultural event. And it's such a joyful event because it's a positive, feel-good festival. So it's of course it's great to invite your friends' families and kind of participate together as a family event. So that's one way I have seen it evolve over the years. Also, one great thing I've noticed is that now in the US, every year in California, and I'm sure it's happening in other states as well, there are Golu competitions. So families that have not traditionally kept Golu at homes are now doing that. And, they are actually honoring these traditions even more than their parents in a way, or their grandparents. And, there's a lot of enthusiasm. I see lots of ads for, Golu dolls. People are getting so creative. Some of the Golus I've seen are so amazingly creative and beautiful. And these are families that have traditionally not followed this. So it's so lovely to see them adopt a tradition, because it's such a positive thing and they want to be part of it. And, I'm seeing the husbands also, contribute by building the Golu arrangement, which is done on odd number of steps. And Home Depot, interestingly, even the people working in Home Depot apparently know what Golu is, because so many families have reached out to them saying, I want the Golu steps to be built in a certain way. So they go to them with measurements and, saying, this is the plank I need. So it's so amazing to see how popular it has become. What resonates with me most is, how our tradition has had such a special place for women. And, we've always honored women. We've respected women a lot. And Navratri is all about, realizing the goddess within. We pray to women goddesses for 9 days. And, I really appreciate how my faith, my tradition, my culture has done so much for women empowerment. And, I feel lucky that I'm able to, continue these lovely traditions and do my little thing at home. And every year I'm trying to step it up by, learning new prayers or, making it more, celebrating it in a much bigger way than the previous year. And also, I like to educate my friends about this because, as you know, Syam, every region in India celebrates Navratri in a different way. And, I have friends from so many other states, and just to compare notes and, talk to them about, hey, how is your tradition? Like, how are you celebrating it versus this is what we do? And, seeing how, if there are any parallels and how different they are, and, appreciating different traditions. So this is how it has evolved for me. And as I'm growing older, I'm starting to appreciate these even more.
Well, that's it for this episode of That's So Hindu. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it now with someone who you think will like it too. Please also like, follow, and or subscribe to this show on whatever platform you're listening to it on. You can help ensure that more of these get made by making a donation to HAF at www.hinduamerican.org/donate. Thanks again for listening.